Chala, Perek Gimel, Mishnah Dalet. This Mishnah continues in a similar way to the previous Mishnah, inasmuch as the importance of timing when it comes to making something hektish, as far as the mitzvah's chala is concerned. That was the last Mishnah. This Mishnah discusses maasros, taking tithes, and the importance of timing when one takes tithes, as far as hektish is concerned. With the mitzvah of taking maasros, the pasuk says, "Dugonecha." It must be your grain, from which we learn it must be yours and not belonging to hektish. If it belongs to hektish, it is exempt from maasros. The Mishnah says, "Kayotze bo," similar to the previous Mishnah, "Hamakdish peirosav," someone who makes his fruits hektish, "Ad sheloi bo la'onas hamaasros," before they reach the stage of maasros. What is the stage of maasros? The Bartanure, in Mesechus explains this Mishnah to mean we're talking here about Gemar Malacha. When the grain, the fruit, has finished its harvesting. In the example of grain, it would have been threshed, the corn would be, threshing would have taken place, winnowing, even piling up the grain, and smooth meruach. At that stage, that's considered the Gemar Malacha, the end of the harvesting of it, and it's ready to be moved. Also, the Mishnah says in maasros that every species has its own time, which is considered onas hamaasros. It's come to the end of the harvest of that particular species. So, someone who makdish their fruits, whichever fruits it might be, before they came to that stage of onas hamaasros, the end, the Gemar Malacha, the end of the harvesting of that particular fruit, grain, and it's at that stage there's a chiyuv to take maasros. If someone made the fruit, the grain, hektish, before it reached that stage, and then padon, the person redeemed them from hektish and they now belong back to himself. And it's at that stage, subsequently, that it reaches the onas hamaasros, the time of maasros, the chiyuv of maasros, when it's now back in the ownership of the original person, chayovim. Then these peiros would be chayiv in maasros. Similarly, umishabo'ul onas hamaasros, if these fruits had already reached that stage of onas hamaasros, Gemar Malacha, the end of the harvest of those particular fruits, and then he made them hektish, ufado'on, and then he redeemed them, even though at one point they belonged to hektish, hektish did not remove that original chiyuv of maasros, which happened at the time of onas hamaasros, when the fruit had completed their harvesting, chayovim, the fruits would be chayiv in maasros. However, hikdishon ad shelo nigmaru, if he made these fruits hektish before they'd completed that stage, the stage of Gemar Malacha, the onas hamaasros, ugemoron hagizbor, and the treasurer, perhaps the clerk of hektish, he completed that stage up to the onas hamaasros. completed the harvesting of them. In the example of grain, that means they got to the stage of being piled up, having been threshed and winnowed, and smoothed the top of the piles. V'achar kach padon, and only after that stage the individual redeemed them, and they now belong back to the first individual, Paturim. They will be exempt from Maisrus. Why? Shebishas choivoson, at the time that they received their chiyuv, the chiyuv to take Maisa, which was at Oinas Maisrus, Hoyu Paturim, they were exempt because they were in the ownership of Hekdesh.